The mechanic they mocked turned out to be a billionaire's lifeline. The morning sun hit the cracked pavement of the old city street. The air smelled of oil, dust, and exhaust, the usual scent of struggle. Kneeling beside a rusty old car, a man in a worn-out t-shirt tightened a bolt with trembling hands. His fingers were darkened by grease, his shirt soaked in sweat. But his eyes carried quiet dignity. His name was Marcus. For 15 years, Marcus had fixed cars on this same street corner. No fancy shop, no signboard, just a man, his tools, and a promise. If it's broken, I'll make it run again. But today, something was different. A sleek silver sedan rolled up beside him, windows tinted, engine humming like pride itself. Two men in expensive suits stepped out, laughing loudly, their shiny shoes clicking against the pavement. "Hey, look at that," one of them whispered, nodding toward Marcus. Still trying to fix junk with his bare hands. "Guess some people just never level up." The other man chuckled, pulling out his phone to record. "Bro, this is gold. Mechanic of the streets, fixing cars older than his future." Marcus heard every word. He didn't respond. He just kept working, tightening a screw, wiping sweat off his forehead with the back of his arm. Years of humiliation had taught him silence was safer than anger. But that didn't stop the laughter. "Hey," the first man called out, pretending to be friendly. "How much for a full service, brother? Or do you only work for spare change?" They laughed again, louder this time. One of them reached into his pocket, pulled out a few coins and threw them at Marcus's feet. The coins clinked against the pavement, rolling into the shadows beneath the car. For a moment, the world froze. Even the wind seemed to stop. Marcus slowly looked up, not in anger, not in shame, but with the hollow calm of a man used to being looked down on. One of the men smirked. "Don't look at me like that, man. It's just a joke." But Marcus didn't laugh. He picked up a wrench, turned back to his work, and softly said, "Ain't funny when life hits you the same way." The laughter faded for a second, then came back, louder, more cruel. They didn't know it yet, but someone was watching. A few meters away, a black Bentley SUV slowly rolled to a stop. The tinted window slid down, revealing a pair of sharp eyes behind designer sunglasses. The man inside, calm, powerful, and composed, watched everything in silence. His face didn't move, but his jaw tightened. He had seen this kind of thing before too many times. The laughter echoed again. One of the suited men kicked a small metal part toward Marcus. "Come on, fix that, mechanic man. Maybe you'll earn yourself another coin." Marcus sighed, brushing the dirt off his knees. His hands shook, not from fear, but from trying to hold his dignity together one last time. He looked at the car he was fixing. Old, dented, but still running, just like him. And then from behind came the low, smooth purr of the Bentley's engine turning off. The suits turned their heads. Their laughter stopped mid-breath. The driver door opened slowly, like a scene out of a dream. Polished shoes hit the ground, followed by a tall man in a dark tailored suit. The sunlight caught his face, and for the first time, Marcus looked up with surprise. The man from the Bentley was walking straight toward him. The man stepped out of the Bentley with quiet authority. Every detail about him spoke of power, the cut of his suit, the calm way he adjusted his cufflinks, the silent confidence in his stride. The laughter on the street died instantly. The two men in suits glanced at each other, unsure why someone driving a Bentley would stop here. On this dusty corner beside a street mechanic, the man's polished shoes clicked against the pavement as he approached. Marcus slowly stood, confused but respectful. The stranger stopped right in front of him, eyes soft, yet full of something deep, recognition. "Marcus," he said quietly, almost in disbelief. Marcus blinked, his hands still greasy, his voice uncertain. "Do I know you, sir?" The man smiled faintly. "You helped me once. Years ago. My car broke down outside the same street. I was young, broke, desperate, and you fixed it. You didn't even charge me." Marcus frowned, trying to remember. "Son, I help a lot of people. Can't keep count." The man chuckled softly. "I know, but that one repair, it got me to a meeting that changed my life." The silence deepened. The suited men were frozen, watching like statues. The man continued, his tone low but firm. "You probably don't remember me, but I remember you. That day you told me, 'Don't let where you start decide where you stop.' I carried that line with me ever since." Marcus's eyes widened slightly. His voice cracked. "Wait, Jason?" The man nodded. "Jason Cole, CEO of Cole Automotive. The same company that owns..." He paused, glancing at the two mocking men. "This dealership they probably work for." The color drained from their faces. Marcus stood there, speechless. His wrench slipped from his hand and clattered to the ground. Jason looked at the two men, his calmness turning razor sharp. "I saw everything," he said. The laughter. The coins, the insults. The first man stammered. Sir, we were just joking? Jason interrupted, his voice cool but cutting. You think mocking someone's struggle is a joke? That kind of arrogance destroys everything decent in people. The silence was suffocating. The only sound was the distant hum of city traffic. Jason turned to Marcus again, his expression softening. You once told me to never forget where I came from. I didn't. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a key fob. Shiny. Engraved with the Bentley logo. Marcus, he said, handing it over. This car's yours now. Marcus's hands trembled. No, I can't take that, son. It's too much. You gave me more when I had nothing, Jason replied. This is nothing compared to what you gave me. Belief. The two mocking men stood frozen in disbelief, their arrogance melting into shame. Jason turned toward them one last time. By the way, he said coldly, you're both fired. Effective immediately. Their faces went pale. Fired? Yes, Jason said. Consider it your first lesson in humility. Learn it fast or life will teach it harder. He turned back to Marcus, placing a hand on his shoulder. Come with me. You're done fixing cars on the street. Marcus's eyes glistened. And do what, son? Jason smiled. Help me build a school for kids who grow up like we did. You've taught enough engines. Time to teach hearts. That evening, the sun dipped low, painting the street in soft gold. The same street where Marcus had once been invisible, now silent. Watching him drive away in a Bentley, people who used to pass by without looking were staring now. Some clapped, some whispered. But Marcus, he didn't care about the attention. His hands rested on the steering wheel, trembling with emotion. The leather felt foreign, but the moment felt real. In the passenger seat, Jason smiled quietly. Feels good, doesn't it? Marcus chuckled, tears welling up. It ain't the car, son. It's the respect. The kind that money can't buy. Jason nodded slowly. You taught me that. As they drove off, the two men in suits stood on the sidewalk, still in shock. One of them bent down, picked up the same coins they had thrown earlier, now dull, dirty and meaningless. He looked at them for a long time, then whispered, We really messed up. The other man didn't answer. He couldn't. His throat was tight with regret. Jason's Bentley disappeared down the road, but what he left behind was louder than words. Days later, that story spread across social media. Someone had filmed it, the laughter, the humiliation, the redemption. The video went viral. Comments flooded in. That mechanic is a legend. Karma at its finest. Faith in humanity restored. But to Marcus, none of that mattered. What mattered was that maybe, just maybe, one of those kids walking by would see that video and believe that kindness isn't weakness. A week later, Jason and Marcus stood before a new building site. The sign read, Cole Foundation, Skills for Life. Marcus stood silently for a moment, then smiled. Guess you built more than just cars, huh? Jason grinned. Nah, you built me first. The wind blew softly, carrying the sound of laughter from nearby kids. Jason turned to Marcus and said, People forget names, forget faces, but they never forget how someone made them feel. Marcus looked toward the horizon, whispering, Let them throw their coins. Someday they'll learn what real value means. The camera slowly pulled back, the Bentley parked beside a construction site, the street mechanic who became a symbol, and a friendship forged in respect. And as the screen faded to black, a single line appeared. Kindness never goes unnoticed sometimes. It just takes the right eyes to see it. Months passed. The city changed with time. But one street still carried the memory of what happened that day. The corner where Marcus once worked had gone quiet, no oil stains. No tools scattered on the ground. Instead, a small metal sign stood where his toolbox used to sit. It read, In honor of Marcus Reed, the man who fixed more than cars. Every morning, people walked by and glanced at it. Some smiled, some bowed their heads. A few even left coins there not out of mockery, but out of respect. Because they all knew the story. The video of that day had reached millions. News outlets called it the Bentley lesson. Schools played it during assemblies. Even corporate CEOs quoted Marcus's words about dignity and respect. But Marcus himself? He stayed the same. In a modest office beside the newly built Cole Foundation, Marcus sat surrounded by young trainees, kids from rough neighborhoods. Single parents, broken schools. You want to fix engines? He asked one of them, smiling. Good, but first learn to fix your attitude. That's the hardest machine you'll ever work on. The kids laughed, but they listened. They knew who he was, the man who was laughed at, thrown coins at, humiliated in public, and yet walked away with more grace than his mockers ever could. Jason visited often. Their bond had grown beyond gratitude, it was now family. One evening, Jason walked into the workshop, still wearing his expensive suit but his expression humble. Marcus, he said, handing him a small envelope. This came today. The city wants to name that street corner after you. Marcus smiled faintly. I don't need my name on no street, son. Just make sure people walk it with respect. Jason chuckled softly. You always know what to say. Nah, Marcus said. I just lived enough to mean what I say. They shared a quiet moment, two men, different worlds once, now united by a single truth. Humanity is worth more than pride. As they stepped outside, the sky turned orange. The Bentley was parked nearby, gleaming under the sunset. Jason offered Marcus the keys, as he always did, but Marcus shook his head. You drive, son. I've had enough roads for a lifetime. Jason smiled, started the engine, and they drove through the same streets where it all began. At a red light, Marcus looked out the window and saw a man on the roadside, fixing a flat tire for a stranger. No cameras, no applause, just quiet kindness. Marcus whispered, almost to himself. That's how it starts. One good deed, one soul at a time. Jason glanced at him, curious. What did you say? Marcus turned, smiled faintly. Just remembering how a small act once changed both our lives. The light turned green. The Bentley rolled forward. The city lights began to glow. Reflecting off the car's polished surface, two silhouettes inside. One young, one old, both shaped by the same lesson. And the narrator's voice fades in softly. Life has a way of coming full circle. You may not see the reward the day you choose kindness, but someday, somewhere it will find you again. Multiplied. The music swells. The Bentley disappears into the night traffic. On the corner where it all began, the sign catches the last bit of sunlight, those engraved words shining gold. He fixed more than cars. Fade out.